Welcome to r/Am I the Jerk, where Karen is demanding OP pays for her home renovations. My parents are demanding I pay for their renovations because I live at home with them, but I don't pay rent. I, 29 male, used to work in a different field and lived on my own in another city until 2020, when I moved back in with my parents. My dad was going through some medical issues, and my mom had to become his caregiver for a while. Around the same time, I switched to 2 fully remote jobs with flexible hours, which has allowed me to take on the role of a pseudo-parent for my younger brother, who's 12 years younger than I am. I currently live with my parents, who are both in their late 50s, and my younger brother, who's 17. I don't pay rent, but I take care of 100% of the monthly bills and groceries for the household, which is owned by my parents. I've also paid for any maintenance costs and replaced broken appliances, including a new refrigerator, a washing machine, and 3 new AC units over the past 7 years. In addition to that, I'm paying for 100% of my brother's college tuition, which will continue for the next 2 years. I've paid for his driving lessons, bought him an old car, and I'm also paying for his rent and food while he's in college in another part of the country. I even cover the cost of his plane tickets to visit home every 3 months, as requested by my parents. I paid for my own college education because my parents didn't support my choice of studies. I worked multiple jobs to make ends meet, and as a result, I had little to no social life during that time. I've essentially been supporting myself since I was 16. Now, my parents want to do a major remodel of the house, which will cost a significant amount of money. While I do make enough to cover it, this is where I'm drawing the line. I refuse to pay for the renovation. My parents argue that since I've been living at home, rent-free for the past 4 years, it's a reasonable request for me to contribute to the remodel. This situation is now escalated, and my extended family, my aunts and uncles, have started texting me, calling me an ungrateful child, and trying to pressure me into paying for the renovation. Given everything I've already contributed over the years, I feel I've done more than enough, so I'm standing firm on my decision. So internet, am I the jerk for not wanting to pay for the renovations? Not the jerk. I'd make a list of everything you've paid for and send it out. I'd also point out renovations typically increase the value of the home. However, since you're not the homeowner, you can't pay for the renovations since you won't get any return once the house is eventually sold. But good news, the extended family has volunteered to help your parents with the cost. Am I the jerk for uninviting my fiance's work wife from our wedding? I, 29 female, am supposed to be marrying the love of my life, 31 male, in just a few months. We've been planning this wedding for over a year, and it's been a beautiful, though stressful experience. But there's one person casting a shadow over everything, and that's my fiance's work wife, Lily, who's 30, female. Let me backtrack a bit. My fiance and Lily have been friends and coworkers for around 5 years. Initially, I was relieved that he had a good friend at work, especially since his job can be demanding and somewhat isolating. I tried to be the understanding partner who wasn't bothered by how close they were. But over time, their bond has become, well, something I just don't know how to handle. Lily is a huge part of his life. They text constantly, often late into the night, about everything from work issues to little jokes. She knows things about him that I sometimes don't, and it stings to realize how much he turns to her for advice and laughs instead of me. My fiance keeps reassuring me that they're just friends, that she's his work wife, and that it's no big deal. But it feels like she's gotten so close that sometimes I'm the one on the outside looking in. As we got deeper into wedding planning, Lily started chiming in with her opinions. She had suggestions about our venue. It doesn't feel like him. Our flowers. He's never liked bright colors, remember? And even my dress. She mentioned offhandedly that she knew his style and could help me pick something he'd love. I tried to laugh it off, but it hurt more than I wanted to admit. Here I am planning my wedding, and I felt like I had to measure up to her view of who my fiance is. Last week, we had our engagement party, and it was supposed to be a happy day, but I kept noticing Lily glued to his side. I tried to join their conversations, but each time she'd bring up a work story or an inside joke that left me feeling like a third wheel at my own engagement. Then, in one of the worst moments, I walked up just as she was saying, "You know, if you change your mind, you could always marry me instead." My heart sank. I didn't know if she was joking or half serious, but my fiancé laughed, brushing it off as if it were no big deal. I couldn't just let it go. Later, I pulled my fiancé aside and told him how inappropriate that comment was. He looked at me surprised and said I was taking it too seriously and that Lily was just playing around. I felt like I was going crazy, like maybe I was seeing something that wasn't there. But really, how would anyone be okay hearing that from someone so close to their fiancé? The last straw came toward the end of the night. Lily had had a few drinks, and she came up to me, asking if I was really okay with how close they were. She added something like, "I mean, I can't imagine him with anyone else." It really hurt me to hear her say that. I wanted to scream, but instead, I just walked away. Later, I told my fiance I didn't want her at our wedding. It was too painful to have someone there who clearly saw herself as part of our relationship. He got defensive, saying I was overreacting and letting jealousy ruin a friendship he cherishes. He even implied that uninviting her would damage his reputation at work. Now he's barely talking to me because he says I'm making him choose between his best friend and his fiance. I don't know what to think anymore. I feel hurt, small, and as if my feelings don't matter. My friends support me, but his friends think I'm overreacting and letting my insecurity ruin our relationship. Am I the one blowing this up, or am I in the right to want some respect and boundaries? Am I in the wrong for asking him to uninvite her from our wedding after everything that's happened? Not the jerk, but to be honest, it sounds like the two of them are having an emotional affair. Her comments are completely inappropriate, and your fiance's willingness to side with her and choose her over you is hugely concerning. I can absolutely predict on the day of the wedding, she's going to try to insert herself into everything. It sounds like there's a level of jealousy here, and based on what she did at your engagement party, this is going to escalate on the day you get married. And then you can likely look forward to a future of her inserting herself into your relationship. The home you buy, your kids, and your husband is going to keep allowing this to happen. You need to ask yourself if you can live like this. Am I the jerk for asking my boyfriend to quit his sport? I, 23 female, have been with my boyfriend who's 28 for about 2 years. He's played rugby for the entirety of our relationship, starting about a year before we met. Rugby has become almost a third person in our relationship, so I recently asked him to stop playing. Now I'm wondering if I was wrong to do that. Every Saturday is rugby day, where he wakes up, watches a game, plays a game with his team, then watches another game afterward. He usually follows up with highlight reels on YouTube until he goes to bed. He has 2-hour practices every Tuesday and Thursday. On top of that, he coaches a high school team and is an assistant coach for a college team. After every game, practice, or scrimmage, he comes home with some sort of injury or is just generally debilitated by pain. He's always covered in bruises and cuts. He's been to the hospital for a separated shoulder, a split open eyebrow, a deep cut in his lip that went through muscle and fat, and most recently, he had turf beads in his eyelid that nearly blinded him. Not exaggerating. He'll take off work for games and practices, cancel dates, and even miss important events for rugby. When my family home caught on fire, we had a fundraiser. He tried to skip it for a game, only attending because the game got canceled. During my birthday dinner, he asked if we could rush through it so he could make his practice afterward. We can't do anything on a rugby day. We can't hook up on a rugby day. He can barely function. His excuse is always, "It's tough on rugby days." But really, it feels like every day has become a rugby day. Financial stress has also become an issue, especially since we live in a very expensive area. He constantly worries about money, but somehow he always has funds for new cleats, studs, tape for his joints, and team memorabilia. It feels like he spends on rugby the way an addict spends on their fix. I want to be clear. I'm genuinely happy he has something he enjoys. I'm glad he coaches, and I know his students look up to him. It's wonderful to see him feeling good about himself, and we've met some incredible people through the rugby community. But the phone calls at 1 a.m. telling me he's in the hospital again, getting yelled at because he's broke, catering to him because he's too sore to do anything, and consoling him when he's devastated over losing a starting position, it's too much. I feel like rugby has completely taken over, and I don't know where our relationship fits into his life. When I asked him to stop playing, he freaked out. He told me I don't appreciate the things he cares about, and that I should be grateful he has rugby or else he wouldn't be alive, and that he really has nothing else in his life. I feel horrible, but I don't know how else to set boundaries. Am I really in the wrong here? Update. Just to clarify, I asked him to stop playing. I don't mind if he coaches, mentors, watches, or engages in the community. That's okay with me. It's the overwhelming injuries, financial strain, and emotional toll that led me to ask him to stop playing. It's hard to keep giving my all when he's spending so much on rugby and then blaming me for his financial problems. Not the jerk. And this is a former college football player who then played rugby at a pretty high level for years after college before retiring from active participation to prioritize my career, relationship, and starting a family. What you described is not an uncommon example of rugby culture. Rugby is a great game and community, and it can be addictive. It gives men a positive masculine outlet and bonding that is rare in our society today. However, you're not the jerk for asking someone who is years into a relationship to prioritize the relationship over their hobbies. It's part of life, and it's his choice to make. Of course, the flip side is that he's not the jerk if he chooses rugby over you. Y'all are both adults who need to have an honest conversation with yourselves and each other about your relationship and where it's going. The only way anyone is a jerk here is if y'all lead each other on and are not honest about your needs and life plans moving forward. And just to acknowledge what others have pointed out with regard to the boyfriend's behavior, I agree that he could definitely adjust his perspective. Planning to skip the fundraiser is eyebrow-raising to say the least, and so is yelling at OP over his financial problems. I think what you're really asking is, should I stay in this relationship? I think the answer is no. For me, this would be a deal breaker. His partner will always come second to rugby. It seems like he has it all backwards. He's in a serious relationship with rugby while you're just a hobby. Not the jerk. What I'm reading is that he's deeply and truly passionate about rugby. I don't know how to rule on this exactly. On the one hand, if you're asking and not demanding, there's merit to that. On the other, it's obviously important to him. Similarly, if you're concerned with his well-being, I fully get that, and in the same breath, you also sound like you're a bit jealous that rugby is so important to him. I love animals. I've worked with some potentially dangerous dogs. Think rescued fighting dogs. I've never been hurt, but it's not impossible. If someone asked me to give it up, I'd be absolutely crushed, and honestly, probably more keen to give them up than my passion. Am I the jerk for requesting an explanation for my money being spent without my permission? This past summer, I underwent a lengthy surgical procedure that required several weeks in the hospital out of town, followed by months of recovery. For the first 8 weeks, I needed someone to stay and help me, so I rented a large house on the water with a pool. I wanted those who came to help me to have an enjoyable environment. Friends and family offered their support, and a schedule was made. Essentially, people were able to make it a vacation, helping me as needed while also enjoying the amenities. My late husband's sister was the first to take advantage of the setup. She stayed for a week, arriving while I was still in the hospital. However, she left on the very day I was discharged, rushing off as soon as she could. She didn't even visit me while I was in the hospital, explaining that she didn't want to deal with the traffic. In effect, she contributed nothing to my care, but enjoyed the beautiful home and amenities all the same. Prior to the surgery, I had informed her that I was leaving $1,000 in the house to be used exclusively for household items like paper goods, laundry products, and cleaning supplies, as well as anything needed for my dog, who would be there when I returned. Imagine my shock when I discovered she had spent all of that money within 6 days. Hurt and feeling used, I decided to table the issue until I felt better. During my recovery, I was not texting or answering calls as my phone was off. I needed to focus all of my energy on healing and survival. Despite this, there was no consideration for what I was going through, and I received no communication from her either. Weeks later, her husband made a feeble attempt to chastise me for not texting or calling her to make her feel better. My response to this entitled remark was a simple, "Sorry, not sorry." Nearly 3 months later, after I was back home, she came for a visit. After a pleasant conversation, I brought up the issue. I asked her what made her think it was acceptable to spend all the money I had left for the household. She claimed she had given me receipts for her expenses, which was true. She had begun charging me before even leaving her home for items like body wash, breakfast, and chewing gum. Then she claimed she used the money to stock up the kitchen. I asked her who she thought would be using those supplies since she had left only bits of leftovers behind. Several notes indicated she had used her own credit card for various items, though no receipt was available, and she listed things like food and gas, despite having an electric car. She went on to say that she thought I had gifted the money to her. I reminded her of my instructions and clarified that it was never intended as a gift. She then shifted her argument, stating it was an expense account for her. I asked why she would think she was entitled to an expense account and what had led her to believe that I would provide one. When I first rented the house, she told me she had been bragging to her friends about her wonderful vacation planned at my summer rental. Looking back, I realize now that her focus was never on helping me. I fully understand that this bridge is burned, but given her attitude, I cannot imagine that it could make much of a difference. Not the jerk for being upset at her callous behavior at your expense. If you want to wholly burn that bridge, feel free to warn your family about her behavior so they can all protect themselves or their loved ones from her selfishness and theft if they're ever in a similarly vulnerable position. Never leave sister-in-law unsupervised near anything of value. She has already helped herself to her total share of your kindness, generosity, and consideration for others. Everything remaining can fairly only be given to others without guilt. She should be grateful that you haven't filed a police report for her theft. I used my day off to teach my brother a lesson for making people late. A while ago, I posted on a different sub asking if I'd be the bad guy for leaving my brother at home every time he made me late. I'm a senior in high school and he's a sophomore. I used to drive him to school every morning even though he could have taken the bus. I warned him multiple times, probably more than I should have, that I would leave without him if he wasn't ready by the exact time we had to leave. After a few days, he learned his lesson and now he takes the bus. The issue is he misses the bus all the time, so my mom ends up taking him to school. If you read my initial post, you know that my mom absolutely adores my brother, and when it comes to me, she at least knows that I exist. She never told him anything like, "You need to be up on time," or "You can't keep making me late for work." Yesterday was a senior skip day at my school. If you don't know, that's when the entire senior class has the day off just for fun. My mom and older brothers also had work early that day, so my brother had to either make it to the bus on time or rely on me waking up early to take him. Guess what? He missed the bus. It was pretty clear he still hadn't learned to respect other people's time or, actually get up on time. Since I had to take him to school on my day off, I decided to make it a little more memorable. As we were getting in the car, I reminded him that he needed to be on time. He actually laughed at me. I told him, "All right, if you don't want to respect my time, I won't respect yours." The rest of the morning, I made him just slightly late. Oops, I forgot my wallet with my license in it. Let me take 2 whole minutes to pretend to look for it, even though I knew exactly where it was. Oops, my car had frost on it. Better turn on the defroster and wait just a bit too long for the frost to melt. Zoinks, my phone wouldn't connect to my car. How am I supposed to drive him to school without listening to Pierce the Veil? I had to figure out this technology problem before we could even start driving. Eventually, I decided I'd made him late enough. We needed to leave the house at 7:10 and we ended up leaving at 7:19. The universe was on my side because every traffic light was red and traffic was a nightmare. School starts at 7:30 and he ended up getting to class at 7:48. I really hope he never makes anyone late again, but considering he's not exactly punctual, I'm not sure he'll ever learn. Update. People are saying I should have left him at home. I considered it, but our mom very sternly told me that if he misses the bus, I have to take him. She doesn't play around. At the same time, she also told him to get on the bus or he'd be in trouble. I don't think he had ever been told he actually would be punished for something before, so he was really panicking about getting to school. Not enough to actually wake up on time for the bus, but still. He was really upset when he realized he missed the bus, and for once, he was the one urging me to hurry up. Some commenters were saying he didn't learn his lesson, and honestly, I don't know if he ever will, but I've never seen him actually try to be on time until that morning. I feel like a lot of the issue is my mom being too lenient with him. Now that she finally scolded him, he's getting a taste of what it's like to have a parent actually parent you. One commenter said something like, "Great, you stood up for yourself. Now learn to stand a bit taller." I'm going to live by that until I go to college. Crazy Karen books third party, repeatedly hits the credit card machine when I tell her she has to pay the pet fee. She booked a prepaid, non-refundable reservation through an OTA. She was staying with her dog. Our pet fee is $25 plus tax, which comes to $26.50. Very reasonable. And the pet fee is clearly indicated on all of our online pages. I made it a point to familiarize myself with our official website as well as our hotel page on multiple OTA sites, so I know what information is and is not included. The OTA she booked through did, in fact, include a line stating she'd be charged the pet fee upon check-in. But, of course, people don't read. So Karen comes in and tells me she's traveling with her dog and has a reservation. Cool, okay. I ask for her ID and credit card. "But I already paid for it," she says. I hate that line. "You did. I just need it for incidentals and the pet fee." "What pet fee? They didn't mention any pet fee online when I booked." It says here that you booked through Expedia, which includes the pet fee information on the hotel's page. "No, nobody told me about that. You are ripping me off." I just stared at her patiently until she asked how much it was. When I told her, she flipped out and said it was a ridiculous amount. It's not. That's what it is. If you'd rather not pay it, you're welcome to stay somewhere else. "Well, do other hotels here take pets?" "Nope." "I want a refund." "Unfortunately, you're our guest, but not our customer. You didn't pay us, you paid Expedia, and you booked a non-refundable reservation." She huffs and puffs and finally gives in, waiting for the credit card machine's screen to light up. When it does, she says there's no price on it. I tell her that we can't see the price when they book with an OTA, but she'd be given a receipt for the pet fee in the morning. She says she wants to see the price, so she knows I'm not charging her more than the pet fee. I can't make the price show up on the screen. I told her what it was and assured her she'd receive a receipt in the morning. But Karen can't accept that, so she takes her credit card and starts repeatedly slamming it in the machine with each word she screams. "I said there's no price on the screen." Lady, what the heck? I raised my voice and said, "That's enough. You can either insert your card or stay elsewhere." She stopped, looking at me for a few seconds, then inserted her card, grumbling the entire time. She went to her room, and I didn't see her again. Edit. Some of y'all are even crazier than Karen. The guest is aware of the pet fee. It's online. It's on the contract they sign, and I tell them when they arrive. The price is visible literally everywhere except the machine. I'm an employee of a business. All transactions are recorded and reviewed regularly. It's not like there wouldn't be any consequences or accountability if someone ever tried to overcharge someone. It's not my fault the machine doesn't show an amount. They literally sign a registration form after inserting their card that lists the amount their card will be charged. It's not like they're going in blind and the price is going to be a surprise. They know the price when they come in. I deal with too many Karens at work. I don't go on Reddit to deal with more on my days off. Any Karens whining about it being so unfair will be blocked. Ain't got time for that. While her tantrum was over the top, I have to admit, I would be very uncomfortable putting my credit card in to pay a fee without the machine telling me how much I'm being charged, unless you were only doing a pre-authorization. Not condoning her behavior in any way, that was totally out of line, but I do find it strange that there is no amount shown on the terminal. At least here in Europe, it always shows. You have a flawed system. A customer should never have to wait until the next day for a receipt. In some states, businesses are required to have prices visible to customers. If it was that important for her to see the price of everything she's paying for, maybe she should have considered reading before making her reservation. Maybe your facility is on the up and up, and the fees will be what you say. Not all facilities are that way though, and acknowledging a charge without knowing how much is not a reasonable thing to do. Not your fault, but the system needs to change. And by the way, she is your customer. She just didn't pay you directly, but your facility did get paid for her accommodation using her money. OP. No, her money did not pay us for the room. She paid the OTA. Educate yourself before saying stupid crap. You're the jerk. You won't admit that your employer uses some bizarre card reader that doesn't show the charge. I've literally never seen that in my life. And you snipe at anyone who points out your bad attitude. The fact that more than half the replies are calling you out should tell you something, but you don't seem to be able to self-reflect and seem to lack basic common sense. The number of people complaining about the card reader in the replies is getting under my skin. Like, we can't do anything about our card readers not showing the price. We didn't put that system in place. If it's that big of a deal, take y'all's business elsewhere. OP. Yes, thank you. I'm getting so ticked off. It's not like we're charging them an arbitrary amount. They know the amount ahead of time. They signed a contract that clearly states the amount of the pet fee, and we're employees. It's not like there's no consequences or accountability if we were to overcharge someone. And again, it's not our fault that the credit card machines don't show a price. Y'all think I bought and programmed those things? I just work there. Next time some moron does that, cancel their reservation and call the police. If they have to face consequences for their actions, they'll change their behavior. Well, what do you think? Was the customer in the story a Karen or not? Please let us know. She's not a customer, Reddit boy. She paid the OTA, not the hotel, remember? Oh, hush. My fiance got a face tattoo without talking to anyone. My fiance, Kim, I've just learned is completely insane. She took some days off work this week, being sick, and avoided seeing most people in person. She claimed she was feeling sick and just wanted to stay home alone. She's never given me any indication that she would lie about this in the 6 years we've been together. No one in her family had any worries because she was a stable individual and would never do anything crazy. She got a face tattoo. She took 3 sick days off of work to recover from the fact that she got a face tattoo. She told no one of this plan beforehand. I've never in our entire time together been talked to about tattoos by Kim. She showed no indication that she was even interested in getting any. I was not even the first to learn. Her sister visited her because she was worried after Kim canceled meeting with her for lunch on the 3rd day of being sick and got the grand reveal. She didn't tell anyone beforehand because she didn't want to be talked out of it and hid the results because of the swelling and the redness from getting the tattoo. She thought we would react badly and not be able to understand the artistic meaning. Kim is Asian American. She got Japanese symbols going down her forehead and under her eye. I don't know the meaning of them. I don't really know if I care to know the meaning of them. Kim's parents are Japanese immigrants. According to her sister, who was nice enough to inform me of this whole debacle, this is a big no-no in Japanese culture. Tattoos have links to crime and are looked down upon. Her parents are beside themselves, and that's a whole other set of drama that I can't even begin to approach. Kim talked to me last night about it and acted offended and started a fight with me because I told her it was absolutely insane of her to do this. She works a public-facing job. She talks face-to-face with clients in the financial industry. The minute her boss finds out, the career that she went to school for will be over. She actually didn't consider her job or family or me at all and decided a long time ago that she was going to express herself freely without any concerns. I'm worried about her now. This is not normal. She blocked my number after our fight and is ghosting me and her sister because we're trying to help. But dear Lord, this is far beyond me. I cannot comprehend what I'm even supposed to do right now. Kim's lost her mind. Is there any chance I'll be happily married to this? A woman who went and got a face tattoo and hid that fact because she knew we would all talk her out of it. Dear Lord, I really need to run, don't I? Update. The engagement is pretty much off. Kim has told me she never wants to see me again, and I woke up this morning with her ring and a box of stuff that I gave her on my porch. I don't know what's going on with her. Her sister and family have been trying their best, but nothing on their end is working. I brought up to her sister the idea this is a mental breakdown and they're looking into getting her help. It's painfully slow considering Kim is not responding to anything and is refusing to talk to anyone. I really don't know what to say here, I guess. To answer some questions, Kim is 29 and I'm 28. In the 7 years I've known her, she has never acted like this at all. She had a good relationship with her parents, and while they were a bit overbearing at times, they supported her in going to college and getting a career rather than starting a family. From what I've gathered, they probably would have been fine with any tattoo she got as long as it wasn't on her face, neck, or hands. Even then, this kind of behavior is as far from Kim as I can imagine. She just lost her mind out of nowhere. It's not like I can do anything about it either. She's blocked my number and does not want to see me. I'm just at a loss for words. One day I'm engaged, and the next I'm not, and my ex has a face tattoo. Update. This was just the start of her doing everything she could to ruin her life. She broke up with me and called off our 7-year relationship when I questioned why she did this. She worked in a client-facing job for an incredibly large financial institution and was let go within a month of showing back up for work after getting her tattoo. I kept in contact with Kim's sister hoping for some news. They tried to get her help as they thought she was having some kind of psychotic break. However, she eventually called the police on her own family, claiming that they were harassing her. After that, I decided to just walk away. Kim didn't just destroy her own life. When she broke up with me, I felt numb. I knew this wasn't Kim doing this. I wanted to believe deep down that Kim was always like this. Always this impulsive crazy who would ruin her life by getting a face tattoo. I tried to convince myself that I had not lost a wonderful woman who I had spent 7 years of my life with. However, the person who made these choices was not Kim. The woman who told me over the phone she hated my guts for not supporting her. The woman who wrote she hated me and only ever stayed with me out of pity. That was not the woman I asked to marry. That wasn't Kim. That was someone who I came to find out was having a mental breakdown. The day I walked away and told her sister I could not deal with it anymore was the worst day of my life. It hit me like a train. The numbness and denial of what I lost hit me all at once. I almost quit my own job and moved back home to my parents. I can only thank my boss for being so understanding that she let me take 4 weeks off to deal with what happened. She and the rest of my team went far beyond what should ever be expected of coworkers and management that makes me realize how close I was to leaving my job I actually enjoy. I never moved on from Kim, but I came to accept what happened. I thought I was okay until 2 weeks ago. I got a call from Kim. She had blocked my number and done everything she could to remove me from her life. My mind just blanked when I saw it was her calling. I picked up, and it was actually her. We didn't talk. I did not know what else to say to her. We decided she would come over to my place, and we talked. The tattoo is still there, but she's covering it up now with makeup. She says when she has the funds, she's going to look into getting it removed if possible. She had lost a lot of weight since I last saw her. She's not been able to find a new job. She'll probably need to move to a new city for that. She wasn't the Kim I had fallen in love with. She was like a shell of her former self. Something just wasn't there anymore that used to be. Kim told me what had happened. The year leading up to the tattoo was awful for her. The stress of everything seemed to pile up more and more. I'll respect her and keep much of what she told me secret. However, the thing that's important is that she secretly started taking things she shouldn't have to keep her performance up at work to deal with everything. And one day, she just out of nowhere decided she hated everything about her life. She explained why at the time she wanted the tattoo. It doesn't really make sense, but a lot of what she was thinking at the time didn't. And from there, she just lost control of everything. I won't talk about what happened after she disappeared, but it's not pretty. There are things she did that will follow her for the rest of her life. It explained a lot, but it did not make things any better. We talked for nearly the entire night. She didn't leave my place until almost 4 a.m. Since then, she said that she wants to try and get back together with me. She admitted she knows things cannot be the same, yet she wants to try. I haven't talked to anyone about what I'm about to say yet. I've held off on talking to Kim about it because it feels selfish, but there's something about the way Kim acts about the way it affected my life that irks me. When we talked that night, she said that I was lucky she cut me off. I was lucky I didn't get put through any of this. I was lucky that my crazy ex wasn't at my door screaming or showing up to my work and causing a scene. She acts like my life wasn't affected at all. I told her what happened after she left, how much it hurt, how I almost quit my own job and moved across the country. Her response was dismissive, like because I didn't go through with that, I don't get to complain. She acted like because I was not the one with a tattoo on my face, I don't get to act like it's having long-lasting effects on me. She didn't even apologize for the hateful note that she left with my things when she returned them, or for the phone call where she called me a manipulative, selfish jerk who was just trying to use her, or even just for breaking up with me. She knows she was wrong to do it, but it's almost as if she's acting like because she had a breakdown, I can't hold her accountable for what she did to me because it wasn't long-lasting. I texted her last night saying how hard it was for me when she left. She ignored it entirely and just tried to move on. No acknowledgement at all. I don't know why, but it really hurt me. It hurt me so much. I feel like I did back when all those emotions finally hit me after she left. I wish she had just never come back into my life now. I wish I didn't know whatever happened. I wish I hadn't picked up the call because it hurts. But a part of me feels like I'm being selfish or complaining too much, that I don't get to feel this way because I'm not the one who had the mental breakdown. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.